These are the monitors that I mix and edit both YouTube videos as well as podcast editing. These are the Mackie MR824s, or Mr. 824s to you. I've been waiting a while for that joke, so you gotta let me have it. As a podcast editor, as well as a YouTuber, these are fantastic for the job I do, and literally, I have no complaints. Except when I want to switch it up and play a game or listen to music. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're fine, but the whole idea of monitors is to be flat, or as flat as possible. Hardly the perfect solution when you want to feel the kick drum in a song or even some of the shimmering highs off a cymbal. So, Mackie decided to release something just for that. These are the refresh of the CR series by Mackie. These specifically are the CR5 BTs, and as an added bonus, I did get the CR8S BT. Now, in case you're wondering, yes, the BT stands for Bluetooth, and yes, Mackie did send me these for the sake of a review. And no, they do not get a say in that review. As for the build, let's start with the aesthetics. Now, if you were a fan of the thin green line on the last CR models, it has returned, but now it's a bit more understated. Now you just get it around the speaker instead of that green square. Now, perhaps these might blend in a bit more and won't jump out at you from the bookshelf. Now, the body does seem to be either a composite or a wood material. It's really hard to tell, and even through a quick touch or glance, I can't really tell. One of the dead giveaways for composite, though, is usually when there's no seams on the back. Now, that's not exact. I can't really tell you which one it is. I'll let Mackie weigh in on exactly what the materials are for this speaker after they get released. On the front of the main speaker, you have the Mackie logo as the Bluetooth indicator, as well as the pairing button. Also, you have the volume knob and the headphone jack. But on the other side, you're going to notice that other knob. That is a tone knob, and it switches between work and play, as you can see from the sticker. Now, around back, it's going to look rather familiar to you if you own the older models. What I do love about the CR series is the input options. TRS, RCA, and even an unbalanced 3.5mm, which is really cool. But the keen-eyed among you might notice something different here as well. There's another switch for your location, either bookshelf or desktop. Now, the setup is the first hint that these things aren't necessarily being aimed at full-time producers. When you're setting it up, you have a main speaker and you have a satellite speaker. The main speaker is powered. The satellite speaker is passive, which, by the way, is kind of actually nice if you're like me and quickly running out of plug space. How do you connect them, though? Well, speaker wire. How else? Which, by the way, they don't include much more than about a 6-foot spread for the speakers, so you might want to pick some up if you need a wider setup. Now, hook up your source, and you're pretty much good to go. Now, this does change a bit when you include the sub like I did. Your source comes in through the sub, and then you connect the sub to the main monitor. Now, I'm not mentioning much about the sub here, as it didn't really change all that much outside of the aesthetics with the refresh. However, we will touch on it a bit when we go over some of the pros and cons. Otherwise, the setup's pretty neat and tidy. So let's cover off the most important part about these monitors, which is also the hardest to convey in a review. And well, the sound is exactly what you'd expect. They sound great. But we need to be real. For what these things are meant for, they sound fantastic. Some light monitoring, some light editing, something more than a pair of cans just to see how your mix sounds. Yeah, they sound fantastic. Are you mixing the next Billie Eilish album on them? No, but they're not meant for that either. These are a great option for the person that isn't hyper fixated on getting every frequency just right, and perhaps switching them out to do some more enjoyment listening. You see, in work mode, they are less emphasized in the lows and highs, and in play mode, you get these boosts with clear mids for a decent bookshelf speaker sound. I did a run of editing of the Minds of Madness podcast, and I had zero issues with it. And I mean, at their price point, they're pretty sweet. And again, you can just throw in the sub or even mix another sub in. That's the beauty of this. Nothing is proprietary when you're setting these things up, meaning you can mix and match. Okay then, let's talk about the sub. Now, I've always wanted to try out the Mackie sub with these speakers, especially with their smaller speaker size, and see how it matches up against, say, my 8-inch monitors. And honestly, I liked it. Now, this again isn't a stand-in for higher-priced monitors, but the sub does give it more versatility when you're using this thing as a bookshelf system. Now, I will say that the sub, considering its size, doesn't move as much air as I thought it would, so your ears won't bleed and your neighbors probably won't complain, but That said, it is also very much balanced in its output, even when it's cranked. So if you want just a little bit, or perhaps a bit more, this is a pretty sweet add-on to the CR series. One thing though, this thing, which is a basic volume controller, I found it to be a bit quirky. Now it's meant to control both the sub output as well as the overall output, but I found it dropped the bass really quickly and not in a great way. And sometimes it just didn't bring the bass back, which if I reached behind the sub and turned the knob, it was fine. So it was just this thing. Now, I'm a set it and forget it kind of guy when I'm using something like this for music or media, but being able to adjust some of those settings without having to reach around would be nice. But then Mackie, hear me out. An app for your phone that lets you do just that. Now, I'm no hairdresser, so I don't know how hard that would be, but literally it would be perfect. And it's one less cable to be coming out from underneath your desk. Okay, so this is usually called the should you buy it, but a few weeks back I was watching a Tom Buck video and he mentioned that he found it weird some reviewers didn't showcase them still using the products they reviewed. And you know what? That's a fair point. Now, it doesn't work for everything. Like, I can't be using these things in the background of my videos all the time, but I can reference if I would buy something or what I plan on doing with said gear. And with these, the CR5s, I actually have big plans. First up, I've been looking for just the right setup for my gaming. Switch over to these and voila, some great sound for whatever I'm playing, and bonus, I get a sub to rattle my feet a bit. But also, I just picked up my very own Technics SL1600 and I plan on hooking that thing up. Problem is, my studio is a bit small for a full-on stereo system. This thing though, seems like it's going to work just fine. And again, there's that benefit of multiple inputs on the back. So yes, I would actually buy these. And it also looks like I'm actually going to need to pick up another set of these. You see, my kid is inheriting my old turntable, and I think these are probably the best options for playing their Billie Eilish and Chapel Roan vinyls. If you don't know what I just said, 12-year-olds, they're a rush. Literally, the way these things are being marketed and directed is to that very use case. Monitors that can be used for Bluetooth listening from a phone, a turntable, a computer for gaming, and yeah, even some light editing. Remember, if I can edit an episode of The Minds of Madness on these things, I'm pretty sure you can do whatever you need to do with them as well. But if you're looking for a more detailed and flatter response, you're going to want to move up the stack. Again, there is a reason the Mackie MR824s exist. What do you think though? Is this something you could see yourself picking up? Let me know down below. Cheers guys, thanks for watching.